Welcome everyone to the Marian University Entrepreneurship Club podcast. Today we are here with Adam Andres. He is currently the Executive Operations Intern at Venture Club of Indiana. He's their first ever intern. He's an aspiring leader in the entrepreneurial and venture community of the city of Indianapolis. And he is the founder and president of the Marian University Entrepreneurship Club. Well, thank you for being here, Adam. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that very kind intro.
Yeah, you're very welcome. A lot of things you have a very extensive resume. We've talked about it a lot of entrepreneurial activity in there. Can you break down what it means to be an entrepreneur? So when you tell someone that you're an entrepreneur or you're teaching about entrepreneurship or inspiring someone that wants to be an entrepreneur, break down what you're actually meaning by that term.
Yeah, for sure. I love that question because especially nowadays, a lot of people see being an entrepreneur as the same thing as being a business owner. To a lot of people, that's one and the same. But to me, for example, I feel as though being an entrepreneur, you don't necessarily have to be a business owner. And I think a lot of business owners, sadly, aren't necessarily entrepreneurs. For me, being an entrepreneur really means, not only taking ownership in the solution, which is what a lot of people do. Business owners are clearly taking ownership specifically in the solution. But as an entrepreneur, you're also taking ownership in the problem. And I think that's very distinct because for example, if your solution isn't perfect, of course, you're going to fix it.
Yeah.
But if you're starting to notice that you can be more innovative and you can change your solution based off the problem, that's a different mindset an entrepreneur has. Because really at its root, an entrepreneur is a problem solver. And I think that's really what it comes down to. Because, at the Marian University Entrepreneurship Club, like we've mentioned, you don't have to be a business owner to be an entrepreneur. We think that being an entrepreneur can be shown in your career, in your job, and your life, honestly. There's a lot of ways to really show that entrepreneurial mindset.
So when you discover a problem, right? Let's kind of walk through a little scenario. Let's say we discover there's a problem in a certain line of business or especially on campus. We saw a lot through some of the projects that we have through our 109, now going to be 110 class. What goes into creating those unique solutions? How do you kind of understand a problem very well and then go towards making that next step to actually solving it?
Yeah, I actually, so my most recent business, you're familiar with Artfelt?
Yeah.
Artfelt Greetings. So we started a business doing marketing for artists. And we loved it. We got really connected. It was with me and Jackson. Jackson's now an Orr Fellow, which I'm proud of him. So shout out Jackson.
Congrats, Jackson.
But we jumped right into the solution. For example, we knew that artists, they had trouble marketing. They had trouble marketing their business, and we believed that we could solve that problem specifically with our solution, which was Artfelt Greetings. That's custom greeting cards for artists. But we wanted to, we didn't really understand the problem fully because we were solving that problem just fine. But the other problem that was included in starting a business for greeting cards is, do people really want greeting cards? Specifically the custom-made artist greeting cards that we were giving them.
Okay.
And so that's why we didn't have sales. We didn't fully understand the problem in a sense that we didn't understand the different dynamics of it. So we never actually sold many of our greeting cards.
Yeah.
We knew, for example, we had many artists lined up. We solved their problem just fine. Our solution was great, but we didn't understand it to the full extent, and that's why we failed as a business.
Could you attribute failure as an entrepreneur to not identifying the right problem?
Yes, exactly. I think that's a perfect way to put it because like we mentioned, it's really the problem's the root of what you're solving as an entrepreneur, and that's really what makes you.
Okay. That makes sense, especially when you look at, what goes into being an entrepreneur, the definition that you gave, as well as the entrepreneurship or the entrepreneurial mindset that we've talked about. And I want to break that down because I think that's very important. The Marian University Entrepreneurship Club defines an entrepreneur mindset as this. I'll read it off to you. Is to be inspired to innovatively face challenges, take calculated risks, and be motivated to learn for self-growth. Can you kind of break down that definition a little bit more in depth?
Yeah, of course. We actually, when we first started the Entrepreneurship Club around a year and a half ago, me and the original co-founders I recruited to get this thing started, we really sat down for about a week, full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down for about a week full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down for about a week full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down for about a week full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down for about a week full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down for about a week full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down for about a week full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down for about a week full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down for about a week full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down for about a week full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down for about a week full of meetings, breaking down what that entrepreneurial mindset was. And we really sat down So first off, inspired, right? In order to be an entrepreneur, you have to be inspired by the problem that you're solving. For example, many times, especially early on in my career as an entrepreneur, I would try to bring in co-founders to work with me, and I basically convinced them on why they should want to do this, right?
Yeah.
They were never truly intrinsically inspired by the problem or the solution, really, although they were probably more inspired by the solution than the problem. But like I mentioned, the problem's even more important, right? And so we think, first off, inspiration, that's huge. Secondly, innovatively facing challenges. To be an entrepreneur, you have to be innovative, right? And like you mentioned, like facing challenges, problem solving, like that's extremely important. That is what an entrepreneur is at its heart. But innovatively doing that is important, of course, because you need to do something new, right? Everybody's a problem solver in their own right. Everybody's at some level an entrepreneur, but to be a true entrepreneur and truly have that entrepreneurial mindset, you have to innovatively, solve these problems, because you have to have something new. You have to be creative. You have to be thinking.
Yeah. And so a little bit about taking risk. That's one of the big parts. I mean, there's risk with everything, especially if you're looking to solve a problem or change a concept and take that risk. How do you take calculated risk? How do you measure or prepare yourself to go into something like that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so of course, in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to be ready to take the risk necessary for success to solve the problem. But taking a calculated risks is where we really differentiate ourselves, because we all just want to take risks. Like, what is that idea? Just jump straight in that risk, go out there and do whatever,
I know what you're talking about.
But you have to be calculated. You have to be smart with it. You have to really think about what you're doing, break down the problem, break down the solution. And if it makes sense to take the risk, or you believe that the risk is necessary to take for the sake of solving the problem, then you should take it. And that's the calculation that's involved in that.
The last part is to be motivated, to learn for self-growth. How do you grow as an entrepreneur? What are ways that people can not only uncover their passion and discover maybe a solution or problem that we talked about earlier, but how do you grow as a person? How do you grow as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, of course. First off, experience, learning, knowledge, So of course, reading.
A lot of reading, yeah.
That's a good start. It's one of the most important things. That's what all the successful entrepreneurs say, is you have to read. But also, just as importantly, probably potentially more importantly, is experience. Although the reading helps you succeed in your experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But having experience is so important. I mean, going out, starting a business, like taking the leap, like really trying to create something, really trying to solve a problem, and you might not succeed, right? You might fail. You probably will fail. Statistically, you will.
Yeah. Odds are against you. Yeah.
I've had plenty of failure with starting businesses, and I don't regret a single one of them. For example, Artfelt Greetings with me and Jackson, we failed as a business. We didn't make any money, right? We didn't successfully solve the problem, but the amount of learning that we gained from the experience has been just so important. It's honestly been huge. I mean, it's also set us both up for where we're at now. I mean, a lot of what Jackson even talked about with his Orfellow position, so even moving on with his career, was his experience at Artfelt, right? Because starting a business, solving a problem like this, it's really going to teach you to, no matter what you do, be successful in it.
Mm-hmm. So you've obviously had quite the extensive entrepreneurial experience, and you're 22 years old currently right now. With Artfelt and the club, as well as some of the other kind of ventures that you've had, can you talk a little bit how you first discovered you were passionate about entrepreneurship or passionate about solving problems in general?
Yeah, for sure. As you know, Business 109, the intro class you take to, our business curriculum, I came to college and all I cared about was soccer. I mean, that's
same way. Yes.
Yeah.
Same thing was with me for football. That was the only thing in my mind.
Yeah, we came to this college, we came to this university to play our sport. That was really what we were focused on. But, through that Business 109 class, for our audience, it's a 9-credit class, basically modeled like in a Shark Tank sense. So you're spending the whole semester creating a business, and you compete against 14 other teams, like presenting your business. And if you have the best business model, the school gives you the support you need to start it, right? And so luckily, me and my amazing team won that competition, and we were able to start our own business. And that was where I found out I was passionate about entrepreneurship. We started the MUE Refuel station. We sold protein smoothies. Our school's a very high athlete percentage, so we had a pretty good market. We did a pretty good job solving that problem, right? And we had some pretty decent success with this one. But I wasn't necessarily passionate about making protein smoothies. But I was passionate about being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, solving the problem. Everything that just comes in with owning the business. It felt great.
You're in college, you're running a protein shake business. I mean, you can't name something more fun than that.
Oh yeah, I loved everything about it. And that's really where I discovered my own passion as an entrepreneur. And, I realized I was like, wow, I'm so grateful, that I was able to have this opportunity to start a business that I'd love to give other people that same opportunity. So that's really where the Entrepreneurship Club started. It started out solving two problems. First off, as I mentioned, I was able to see my passion as an entrepreneur. I was one out of 15 teams that won the competition. So there's 14 teams worth of people that could potentially be just as passionate as me and, starting their own business. And the second problem we solved with that was the lack of the entrepreneurial mindset, because I had my co-owners and they were amazing. And I love them.
Yeah.
But, a lot of times they come to me when there was a problem. Or they'd call into work and they'd be like, hey, I'm not able to make it. I'd be like, well, you own the business.
Yeah, you're an owner, yeah.
Like, exactly. You're not really able to, who are you calling into, right?
Yeah.
So, they really, although they were co-owners, they acted like employees. And that's where I noticed, like, there's a distinct difference between having an entrepreneurial mindset or an employee mindset. And so we created the Entrepreneurship Club, specifically, our tagline, inspiring an entrepreneurial mindset, because we wanted to inspire people that aren't even necessarily going to be business owners, but even as employees, having that mindset where you're innovatively facing problems and you're taking risks and you're learning to grow, right? So we wanted to give people that opportunity, because having that entrepreneurial mindset, regardless on what you're doing, is going to make you successful, in your career or as a business owner. And so we really wanted to do those two things, give people opportunities to start businesses that didn't necessarily have them unless they won that competition.
Yeah.
And just inspiring an entrepreneurial mindset in our university.
That is very powerful. And kind of thinking back, let's go back to a little bit about MUE Refuel and with that team. How did you guys kind of uncover that problem of, you're sitting down, you're talking about, how do we make a business for the class? How did you guys come up with the idea of, let's make a protein shake?
Yeah. I don't think we've ever talked about this.
I don't think so either. I think it's the first time we're talking about it.
That's funny. So, we really had to break down. I mean, one of the things, this is something we didn't do with Artfelt Greetings, but we did do with MUE Refuel Station, which actually led to our success. It's cool we're talking about it. I didn't really think that deeply off this until you mentioned it. But we really did a good market analysis. That was extremely important. So we really thought, I genuinely think, like, the reason we succeeded with that one and not Artfelt Greetings is we really analyzed the problem that we were solving. Because with Artfelt Greeting, we were so passionate about that solution, but we didn't do our due diligence to research the problem. While on the other hand, in MUE Refuel Station, we were more passionate about the problem.
Yeah.
Because our cafeteria. No one likes the caf. And so,
yeah. I mean, it's true. It's very, I don't want to go to the caf after that.
But that was the main problem, is we were so passionate about how much we didn't like the food in the cafeteria that we decided to start our own food place. And then we just continued to analyze that problem. We're like, okay, we're 45% athletes at our university. Let's make it targeted for the athletes. So let's add protein to it. Let's make protein smoothies. And we introduced the protein peanut butter balls. Like, it really was, it's so cool you asked that. It really was more of a passion for the problem than a passion for the solution, which is why we were successful in starting our business.
I mean, you guys were centrally located perfectly right next to the gym, right next to the weight room. People walk by all the time to go get their stuff and their equipment, right? And you guys are right there at the concession stand. So, I mean, I wish I would have taken more advantage. I was in my room with my little, what do you call it? The little, I forget.
Smoothie bowl.
Yeah, a little smoothie bowl thing, and it's cold, and it's like, oh my gosh, then I want to walk back. But if you could go back to younger Adam and have a conversation with him about entrepreneurship maybe some advice or some words of preparation, what would you tell them?
Yeah, hold on.
Or just in general, anyone that's young and ambitious.
I mean, for me especially, I'm grateful for the life I've had. I wouldn't change a thing. If I could go back in time and tell my younger self something different other than buy Bitcoin, I don't think I would really say much else, because I think, your life experiences grow you into the person you are. I think my own life experiences led me to be where I'm at. I mean, being a soccer player, right, only caring about soccer, still having that hard work, that dedication, as an athlete, of course, as a student athlete, that also led into my success as an entrepreneur. But, if I could give advice to younger entrepreneurs, granted I'm young myself, so we'll think even younger, right? I think, actually this is a good piece of advice. It's not for me, so it makes it better. My uncle started a very successful business. He's kind of been someone that's inspired me as an entrepreneur. And it's kind of what I mentioned earlier. He said, you have to find something you're passionate in, right? And I was just, okay. I was like, yeah, I'm passionate in making money. So I was like, I'll go start whatever business that makes the most money. That's what I'm passionate in at the time when I was younger, when I was in high school. But I didn't truly understand the importance of being passionate in your business until recently, right? With the success. And, as we're talking now, I'm realizing, I guess that piece of advice I would give is be passionate about the problem, not only the solution, like we've said. Because, I mean, like I mentioned, if you're passionate about the problem, if your solution fails, you're going to continue to, revamp your solution, right? You just keep working on it. You're not just going to be like, the problem is whatever. I'm more passionate about this business I'm starting with the solution. I'll just move on to the next one. Mm-hmm. No, if you're passionate about the problem, you're going to continue to work on it until you succeed. Mm-hmm. I think that's that one piece of advice I give.
Okay. They get a little bit ahead, right? Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship in general, as well as, more importantly, entrepreneurship at Marian. They've made a lot of great strides in the Entrepreneurship Club. Seen a lot of entrepreneurial students, ventures, their businesses, what they've been able to do. I think it's quite incredible and very impressive, especially when you're seeing these 19, 20-year-olds make businesses, and we've seen Peter be very successful. Marian Sticker Co. What is the future of entrepreneurship?
And peel and stick.
Peel and stick. Come on. Everyone's been very good. And freeze-dried candy, I'm addicted to that. That's for sure. Can you tell me about the future of entrepreneurship at Marian and what people on this campus can expect in the long run?
Yeah, so, our campus, our university has really transformed in entrepreneurship in the past 2 years, ever since we got the club started. Just the other day, we had that student business showcase, and I was just watching two of our members with their own businesses have a conversation about the websites they're designing. Mm-hmm. And before last year, really, there only was one or two businesses on campus. It'd be like that Business 109 winner and somebody doing like a side hustle. Probably photography. We've had some photography businesses. And so, it's been really inspirational to see this collaboration that's happening between multiple different business owners that we're having on campus. And going forward, it's a really exciting time to be an entrepreneur in Marian, because we're really starting to create this new structure for inspiring entrepreneurs. As you know, the Genesis at Marian University, that's going to be the hub for innovation entrepreneurship at Marian. And it's going to be a professional structure. We analyzed what these other universities are doing. Yep. We visited Notre Dame. We saw the beautiful Idea Center. We visit IU Innovates, Purdue Innovates. We continue to do our research with professional structures like Generator. And we basically have designed the leaders of the Entrepreneurship Club alongside professor faculty. And now we even have professor leadership. President Elsner loves the project, Dr. Britt, Dean Roski. We even have Dean Carvel, the engineering dean, and to really create this collaborative effort to help students start businesses. And as we mentioned before, we have some very successful businesses, such as the two sticker companies. Are doing amazing. They're doing very well. But we'd like to start connecting to, the engineering school, the STEM students, and start building some very innovative businesses. And so that's what the Genesis is going to be, is this professional structure to help you start businesses, and also in a collaborative effort between not only Marian University business students, but also the engineering students, the STEM students, so we can really start building some very innovative life-changing businesses. So we're really excited for that. We're looking to launch that hopefully soon. We're looking to get our own space on campus where everybody's able to come together. Like I mentioned, collaborate. We even talked about having a bullet, wall or something like that, like a pin wall. I can't think of the bulletin. Bulletin board. And let's say you're an engineer, you have this great product. You're like, I need a marketing person. Boom. Looking for a marketing person. Let me start this engineering project, or even the other way around. So, we're really excited for the next step of entrepreneurship at Marian University. And we think that now's the most exciting time than ever to be an aspiring entrepreneur and business owner at Marian. So we're really looking forward to that. Just the state in general, Indiana.
Talk a little bit about that bill that's coming out. I'm not sure, maybe not word for word, obviously, it's a long bill, but a little bit about state entrepreneurship in Indiana, the bill, maybe the environment, what's happening in the city as well as the state as a whole.
Yeah, so, now's the most exciting time. I mean, clearly, at least in our lifetime, we've only been around, 22 years, but from my understanding, at least the community also holds a similar thought on this, is now's, a more exciting time than ever to be an entrepreneur in Indiana. I guess first off, like you mentioned, I was listening to Governor Braun's State of the State address, State of the State.
Quite a name, right?
And he was very excited about this new innovation entrepreneurship bill to really fund different structures that are helping people start businesses, helping people in low-income areas start businesses, helping university structures, such as the one that we're creating now, and helping people start businesses. So, we're really starting to structure different organizations, and we already have some very good ones like the IEDC, specifically their small business branch. We have very good structures in Indiana to help people start businesses and be successful as entrepreneurs. And I'm excited that the state government's continuing to add on to that and create even more. We even have, Dom Wettrick and their caucus on helping young entrepreneurs get started and really get them in legislator. And, it's a very exciting time. And not only that, but I mean, we've mentioned before that the GEC, the Global Entrepreneurship Congress, is hosting their first event in the United States in the past 15 years. 2 years ago, they were in, I believe it was one of the two.
Yeah.
We're in Singapore. The year after that, or before, not sure, but was in Dubai. And I might be wrong on those two locations, so don't quote me on that one. But they've been in these exotic countries, right? But this upcoming year is in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Quite the transition, right?
Yeah, so it's like, wow. It's like, what an amazing time. And, one of the reasons that they quote that for is because the state of Indiana, rated by Forbes, is the number 2 state in the country to start a business. And so if you're going to be an entrepreneur, especially in Indiana, now's the time to do it. And, I heard Marian University is making a great step here.
It's fun. If you're in the United States or anywhere in the world, come to Indiana, start your business.
No, I genuinely believe that, though. So it's a great time for entrepreneurship in the state. It's very exciting. I hopefully plan to stay here, grow into a leader in this community. I'm already starting to kind of make these connections, get to know these people. And, it's amazing. My time at the Venture Club, I've been able to have this amazing opportunity to meet with these very experienced and successful board members, and they're just so helpful, man. I mean, like, I was shocked though, because they're like everybody in Indiana, especially, that Hoosier mentality. Mm-hmm. I genuinely think it's very true, and it's very apparent in the entrepreneurial ecosystem we have, because these people love the opportunity. To them, it's an opportunity. For me, it's more than an opportunity. But to talk to me and mentor me and help me, like, I'm just like, wow, like, they're really going out of their way to help me grow as an entrepreneur and start my business. So I'm just very excited with everything we got going on here.
Well, I think the Genesis is going to make a large impact to the community. I think it's going to be very exciting to watch it grow, especially watch the university as a whole grow. So it's something to keep your eye on for sure. Well, thanks for joining us, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
I think you'll be incredibly successful in the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Indiana, as well as the state as a whole, and you'll make some great contributions.
I hope so. So thank you so much, Marlon. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. Have a great day.
Thanks.